Hey, beat baseball world! We are back with another edition of the Beat Ball Blues Show. Just me, Neil DAWG. My co-host Bam Bam had to back out in the last hour or so, which means more time for me. Yay! I shouldn't start out like a clown though, because unfortunately I do want to mention before I bring our guest into the forefront. I want to give a shout out to one of our longtime beat baseball warriors that we lost this week, Joe Wood, out of the Chicago area, who has been one of our league presidents. I know he served as the second vice president at one point. Joe had a lot to do with Taiwan getting involved in beat baseball back in the 90s. He lived in Atlanta and worked at AT&T. And somebody he worked close to is James Gong, who's been our stateside kind of representative that's been our help us communicate with the Taiwan group over the years. He's always at the World Series with the Taiwan teams when they're here. James and Joe's work relationship is really what got that connection with the Taiwan beat baseball program started. But man, I've known Joe. I don't know when Joe started in beat baseball, but I've known him since the early 90s. He's been around a long time, even after he retired from playing and being part of the board of directors. He still showed up at World Series and worked as a base operator. So we lost one of our warriors, and I just want to say rest in peace to Joe Wood, and thank you for all of your contributions. And one of our teams tonight, they lost a big member of their group this year, so we're going to be talking a little bit more about that stuff as the show goes on. But first, let me get all of our guests introduced. We have 4 people from 2 different teams, one of our brand new teams, the Boston Strong. We have both Darren Black and Wynter Pingel. I almost said it wrong. Wynter Pingel.
You got it.
Did I just get it right?
You got it right.
You have one of those names that are computers and our our voiceover stuff on computers and phones. Don't say it correctly, but I didn't know that until I just met you a moment ago. So, but it's good to meet you, Wynter. I appreciate you've been following the show.
I love the show. I think it's great. I love getting to hear people's stories. That's my favorite thing about it, is just learning about everybody's fascinating, as my thought. And everybody really is. And I love that you really get to know people and we can hear their stories.
I appreciate that very much. One of my favorite things about doing the show, when people ask, like, what's your show about? It's like, well, it's about beat ball, but I hate to make it sound like it's that simple, because we're not always just sitting here talking about beat ball. Like, the stories drag us into other conversations that I think I enjoy more than the beat ball stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you checking that out. We got your teammate also, a former member of the Boston Renegades, so one of your players that is an experienced player, but Darren Black from the Boston Strong also here. Darren, good to meet you, my friend.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you, Neil. Looking forward to the podcast and talking some beat ball and our stories.
You have your Boston Strong hat on like you promised?
I do. I actually have the jersey on as well. So,
nice. What's your number?
Can get a look at that and remember that for next season.
What's your number?
Number 19.
What are your team colors with the Boston Strong?
We both have. Well, we have white and black. Excuse me. We have blue and white jerseys. Neil, it's kind of funny. I don't think I've had the logo described to me, but it does.
I almost, after I asked, it's like, don't answer with, you know what? I don't know. But we're pretty close.
So I'll have to brush up on that one. But there is a beat ball, and it is pretty colorful.
All right, nice. Wynter, do you know your team's primary colors?
Nope.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right.
People, man.
Yeah, so we know you guys weren't involved in uniform design. All right, we're gonna get to know more about
Shame on
Wynter,
us.
and Darren and the Boston Strong, but we also have a couple members of a team that's been around for a long time and hoping to be around for a bit more. The Long Island Bombers. We have Jim Hughes. Hey, Jim.
Good evening. How are you? It's great to be on. I remember you back in the day with the West Coast Dogs. Always respected and admired your game. So glad to be on your show.
I appreciate that very much. We also have your teammate, Edgar the Tiger Erickson.
Yes.
Edgar, who gave you the nickname Tiger?
I believe from what I'm told, I thought it had been someone else I was on team previously. But I was told it was a gentleman by the name of Chris De Jesus. I guess when I first came on with the Bombers, I believe it was 12, 13, if I recall. And I was pretty amped up. I just discovered. I knew about the game. I heard of it, but I actually got to play and practice, and I found that it was just awesome. And I was really amped up. And so I guess at times you would hear it in my voice, and then I guess from what I'm told, Chris, he's like a tiger, and it kind of, I don't know, it's stuck. Right?
Yeah,
So
stuck. Yeah,
I think that's the genesis of the nickname.
That's the way nicknames work. Your teammate Alex Barrera hooked me up with each of you to come on the show. So he sent me your contact information, and so you guys know he doesn't have either of your last names in his phone. He's got you, Edgar, is Edgar the Tiger, and Jim, you're in there as Jim El Capitan. So I didn't actually introduce you right. That's Jim El Capitan Hughes. I assume that makes you the captain of the team, Jim? Did we lose Jim? Did you guys lose me? Can anybody hear me?
I don't know. I'm
right,
hearing
good.
you. Are you hearing me, Neil?
Yeah. No, when the audio breaks off, I don't know if it's you guys lost me and I'm just talking to myself, or if we lost the individual I'm talking to. There you are.
There we go. No, I tried to unmute because my son came down. So that button
fair
moves
enough.
on us. So
Fair
it
enough.
moves on us. I was trying to find it, so I apologize. Yeah, no, I was captain for, I guess, oh my God, almost 20 years of the Long Island Bombers before I kind of retired for a little bit.
All right, fair enough. Well, we're going to get into everybody's story. Like Wynter mentioned, we on this show like to get everybody's background. So like I gave you guys a heads up before we got started that I was going to start out with the Boston Strong. And since you've been around, and you got some, like senior parts to our game, Darren Black, I'm going to start with you, man. What's your story? I know you played with the Renegades, but how did you find beat baseball, and how did you end up with the Boston Strong?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Well, way back in 2001, I was good friends with a guy named John Oliveira, who started the Association for Blind Citizens, and that was the parent organization. A few of us, including Joe Quintanilla and we were really the foundational players there, wanted to put a team together, and that's when it started to happen. I have always been interested primarily in baseball and football as a spectator, and I did get to play football in middle school, and after that I was a cross-country runner, track runner, and kept on with that. But just to have the opportunity to play baseball in any form in adaptive baseball was just amazing to me at that time. And so, I played for a lot of seasons there, World Series, had some success individually, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And, we grew that program to where we were pretty competitive. Then I retired in 2012 and took some time off to do other stuff in my life. Always loved sports. Always loved to be baseball, though. Always kind of followed, particularly the Renegades at that time.
Have you been blind your whole life, or did you lose your sight later?
I lost my vision when I was 7. I had a brain tumor.
Okay.
I had more vision back then. You know, so
I know you were pretty young, but did you do any kind of organized sports when you had more vision before that?
well, like middle school football, and that was mainstream sports in
Okay.
school.
Yeah.
Cross country, I did that adaptive. I had an assistant coach. You know, he couldn't pace me, but he ran behind me, slightly behind me, because that would be an unfair advantage to have a runner pace you.
Right.
Let's say I went to Notre Dame, and I was able to have enough vision to sometimes even get away without running with a guide. You know, I had good ears. I always had those good ears, so that
Helpful.
helped. But you know, throughout my life, I've lost more and more vision. And I have always been, and I worked in the rehab profession, so you'll hear some of that lingo. I've always been functionally blind, which means I'm a speed user, I'm a braille user, I'm a cane user. I've always been that. So yeah, so this, you know, that was wonderful, you know, to find B baseball.
Right.
And you know, at the beginning of 2019, Joe Q, as we call him, Joe Quintanilla,
Yeah.
who's a friend, you know, called me and asked me if I wanted to help out with Boston Strong. And I knew I was about to retire from my career. So I was looking for volunteer opportunities and, you know, stuff I wanted to do. And it was a perfect opportunity to get involved. So we started to put the program together then in 2019. I'm sorry, last year, you know, 2022. And
I think for all of us, like the last 3 or 4 years, all are kind of a blur in a way.
yeah, right
Like since COVID started,
right
like
on.
all the years blur together. But go ahead.
Yeah. So last year, 2022, and
All
so
right.
this year was the first time that you know, we actually traveled and played some competitive games. And you know, I primarily am a coach, but this year I did play a lot, and that was quite an experience. You know, kind of coming back and playing after taking all that time off. And kind of looking forward to doing both, you know, in the 2024 season. Looking forward to building the program and maybe recruiting a few more players, getting better as a team, and doing some more traveling and playing competitive games.
Cool. Well, we will definitely get some more, you know, like details on what to expect going forward with the team as the show goes on. Well, let's bring your teammate Wynter Pingel in. I still want to call you Pingel. It's gonna
You
take me
know,
a minute.
if it happens, I would totally understand. I know how it is with the computers and the synthesized speech, and how even when you know somebody's name is something, if you continue to hear it the wrong way, it comes out the wrong way.
That messes me up. But no, definitely don't give me a pass if I don't catch it myself.
Okay.
But go ahead and tell us your story, because you're a newer player, as I understand it. What's your background? How do you find beat baseball?
So I used to work with Joe Q at National Braille Press. And I think it was probably maybe around 2012. He showed us all a documentary that had been made about the Renegades, and he was anxious for people to, he loves the game and wanted to get people into the game and interested in it. And I remember at the time, so I I've always been blind. I had retinopathy prematurity. So, but even always having been blind, I kind of, it's even at my age now, it's taking a long time to kind of shake off like the blind shame, sort of. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but
Actually, I'm not totally positive. I've never heard blind shame, I don't think, before.
well, okay,
Is it
maybe
anything like
that's.
Catholic guilt? I'm kidding.
I don't know. I'm not Catholic, but um, I I always just. Oh, now I feel like I opened a weird.
No, that's what we were
Um,
talking about. These conversations are
right,
different,
right.
take us away from the field.
So I always kind of had a little bit of a struggle with. I grew up in a small town. Being blind was sort of, it was difficult to be blind, and so better that in any way that you could, you tried to sort of not be or something.
No, I totally dig what you're saying. Now that I know, where you're going with the blind shame,
Okay, good.
I kind of experience that myself. Go ahead with your thing, but I'm totally on track with you now.
Yeah, so the reason that I mention that is because when Joe brought up the showed us the documentary and was trying to get people into beat ball, all I could think was, and I've heard this a lot of times on your show from other people, but all I could think was that sounds stupid. Like that, and particularly I was thinking, well, probably sighted people seeing this game would think it looked really stupid. Um which was the dumbest reason of all to not pursue it.
But I
So I
bet
didn't
you're
want.
not the only one that's ever had that thought. And,
I
and honestly, I think I had a similar thought when I first
mm,
heard. I kind of briefly heard about beat baseball about 4 years before I really learned about it and fell in love with it. I was here in California. They're at that in the mid to late '80s. There were quite a few teams, and a few of them were on TV getting some love. And my mom comes running into my bedroom. She's like, "Neil, they're blind people playing baseball on TV," and I was like, "That's stupid." I literally didn't even leave my room and go check it out. I had no interest. I was like, "That's stupid," and kind of like the whole thing what you were explaining. I never thought of it as blind shame or whatever, but because I had lost my eyesight. I went from 20/20 to zero in like a second when I was just shy of turning 11. And for years after
mm,
that, and until I found the sport of beat ball and got around more like blind mentors and stuff, I was just trying to fit into the normal world. I didn't even use a
mhm.
cane. I'm totally blind. I didn't even use a cane
Oh
because
yeah.
I just wanted to be seen as normal as possible.
I know where you're coming from with that too, because as a child, uh, we also didn't have uh much in the way of orientation and mobility services. Someone would come up, maybe once every 2 weeks, but that didn't even start happening until I was 11. So I didn't want to use a cane either. And I don't know why I thought that walking into doors was like more normal than, you know,
Me either.
but that's what that's how it is. But so yeah, I thought be baseball ridiculous. And then uh it wasn't until at the beginning of this year I started doing workouts in my home from Tyler Marin's Revision Fitness app. I don't know if anybody knows
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that, but
yeah.
yeah. So I really just loved them and started seeing people, blind people as the real leaders that they can be. And somehow the sports was what finally started to change things. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that at my age, I'm finally starting to get it together and get over all of that nonsense. But so I called Joe once the weather started getting warmer, because I thought, now I want something competitive and social that I can do. Now that I'm doing all these workouts and everything in my house,
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, you know of any kind of a sport that I could get into? Because I knew that he would know. And he said, well, I have this new baseball team. And I thought, all right, I'll go and give it a try. And I was hooked the first practice. I was like, this is awesome. So
That's cool.
that's how I got into it.
That's cool. I know you said that like you're embarrassed to, I don't know, be, I guess, making kind of a transition at this point or whatever, but I love that you share that with everybody, because the audience, just because I don't think like it's I admitted from hearing you talk about your journey that like I had some of the same battles, like, and I don't think we're alone in that. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's somebody, whether they're younger or older, it doesn't even matter, that can relate to what you were sharing. So I appreciate that you dig in that deep.
Good. I'm glad.
Didn't mean to call you out on the blind shame, but I needed to know.
Well, yeah. Now, I mean, I'm glad that once once you knew what I was talking about, you knew exactly what that is. And I do think a lot of people probably struggle with that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to know a couple of these bombers. And I like I did with the strong, since you've been around the longest, Jim. Let's give more of your background and like how you came to beat ball specifically.
All right. So it's a long story, but a little different for me. I came from a family that had a few blind people in it. My older brother, my mom, and the other siblings all had glaucoma except one. So blindness was kind of the norm, if you
Could have
will.
started your own team.
Yeah, exactly. In my family. And because my older brother was blind and I had another brother who was sighted, I wasn't allowed to be bashful. I wasn't allowed to be scared. We wrestled. They wouldn't let me be what they called a blink, which was like a derogatory term for a blind person who's not capable or not getting out there, if you will. So I did go to a school for the blind until I was in 6th grade. And then my parents pulled me out and said, you have to go to a public school. So I did that when after my brother had graduated. In high school, I wrestled for 4 years, was captain of the team. And, I loved it. It was, as competitive as I needed it to be. And I loved it. But in college, I always said it's like a tripod. There's the social aspect, there's the academics, and you could do sports. I chose social and academics and forego my wrestling career at that point. But in college, I didn't join a team, but I was introduced to beat ball up in Binghamton, New York. They had played a team back in the day in the 80s called Out of Sight. You probably know Dave Piano, yeah, and James Trotino and people of that, and Steve Garrett and all those. They came from that tree. So I'd kind of gotten to know them through the Binghamton team. So when I moved to Long Island, I hooked up with them. I moved to Long Island because I became a teacher. I'm a teacher at a public school, teach American history. I've been doing that for 32 years, and I may retire. We'll see. But
too bad my co-host didn't make it. He also is a history professor.
Oh, nice.
He teaches African American studies. That's his like specialty.
Gotcha. I teach in 11th graders from 1491 to present. But when I moved to Long Island, I needed something. I needed an outlet. I'm very, I love to move. I'm physical and competitive. So at first I was on a team called the Babylon Beepers, which was they were fun, but it wasn't. They weren't competitive. They never traveled. But we had some fun. We played like the New York Islanders and had some other events, which was cool. But then, Ted Fass and Steve Guerra organized this team. I guess it was about 1997. And at first, I didn't want to leave be loyal. You don't want to leave the players you're with.
Yeah, yeah.
But they agreed to let me play on both teams. I was playing on two local teams until the Beepers went under. So yeah, I've been on the Long Island Bombers since its origin back in 97, 98. So over 25 years. And I just love the sport. It's just it's a time for you to be on the field and not think of being blind, but simply think of getting after it. And it's just I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about the stresses of life. I'm thinking about a stupid ball and either hitting the damn thing or or picking it up. And that's what I love about beep ball, that it's an adaptive sport, but it's not cute. We're like, oh, look at the blind people, they're doing something, and it's nice. It's actually competitive. It can be, it could be intense as you want it to be, and just love being around the guys and being on the field. So, they dragged my butt out of retirement for now, just to give them a little support, because I'd retired not because I was physically unable, but I contracted what they call Meniere's disease. So I was experiencing vertigo and also I was losing hearing. So I'm using hearing aids and such now. So it's, that was, I always
extra challenges in there now.
Yeah, I say, God, I learned to hit God's fastball, and he said, try this, and he threw me a curve. And I think of it that way. And I always, I tell people this, if, anybody's out there who's losing their hearing and they're visually impaired, it was the first time in my life I felt blind because, how you listen, and that's part of orientation. That's how you, sense a room. That's how it's everything. So it was an adjustment, and I've accepted it, and that that's why now I'm kind of being a mentor more than a player. But if they need a player, I'll be, I'm ready to give it what I got.
I can totally relate, just out of the fear of it. My dad passed away earlier this year, but he, for at least the last 25 years of his life, just had terrible hearing, and I'm scared to death I'm going to inherit that, just because it's I don't want the double challenge. I'll admit it up front.
I don't recommend it, but it's I've always because of the facing the challenge as a child and having that support with my family, it was, I'm not going to lie and say it was easy street, but with love and support and a lot of humor, I've gotten through it and accepted it. And technology is getting better and better. Like my hearing aids now, I was able to run to the base street, and I wasn't doing that for a while. And I'm like, this sucks. I wasn't. I'm very competitive, and I don't want to be a joke on the field. So I'm like, running to the base straight for me was like it was a celebration. So,
I hear you.
Yeah, so that's
so much of everything too. It's just our attitude, right? I mean, whatever. Like I loved how you, God thought I was handling the fastball pretty good and threw me a curveball. Like I like just people looking at stuff like that rather than poor me, whatever. You know what I mean? Just find a good way to look at it and take on the challenge.
Can't take it too seriously.
Appreciate that.
Only get a short period. Let's enjoy the ride. So.
Can't sweat the small stuff, and everything's small stuff.
Exactly.
Well, let's before we lose him, because I saved the best for last. Let's get to know your teammate Edgar Erickson a little bit. You still with us, Edgar?
I am here.
You're
listening.
Good man. Appreciate your patience.
Yes. Listening to everyone tell their story. Darren, Wynter, and of course my buddy Jim Hughes. Very interesting. I'll kind of give a brief, history of how I got involved, as everyone else has. I'm visually impaired, but it's I lost my sight really. When I was about 18, 19 years old, around there. So I actually was able to play organized sports as a teenager. 14, 15, I'm still reasonably competitive. Baseball primarily, football, basketball. A big fan of the sport also. But by the time I got to about 16 or 17, the division was going downhill, and the next couple of years were a little tough, and eventually it just turned out that I got to a point where I just wasn't able to function as a visual person. We can say, I was able to read regular print with help of glasses, contact lenses later on. I was able to play team sports and so forth. So, but it got to the point where I just wasn't able to. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask, did you know growing up that you could lose your vision, or was that something that just once it started going, you realized there was something going on?
Growing up, I had issues, but it's funny you ask that question because I wonder. I was told when I was a teenager that I remember one doctor specifically told me. He says, you as a teenager, he said you'll be able to, you'll be able to drive a car and so forth. So I didn't think I would lose my vision. It's a good question because I knew I had issues, but again, wearing glasses,
didn't know the depth of
contact lens. No, I didn't. Again, doctor tells you, listen, you're gonna be able to drive a car as an adult. Then, hey, you think, okay,
good enough. Got around.
Is that the best situation? But I can live with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and but it didn't work out that way, and I get to this point in my life, and it's a big change. So I had to adapt. Fortunately, I was able to get the services that I needed, and I was able to adapt and learn how to read Braille. First things first, learn how to read Braille, learn how to travel with the cane, just learn how to function. And so I did that, a place in which I did that was called the Lighthouse at the time, Lighthouse here in New York. Mm-hmm. I ran into a friend there. He's been a friend for many years, Braulio Thorne. You guys, I think everyone in the beatball universe knows Braulio Thorne.
Yeah, Braulio's been around forever.
He's been around. He's a great ambassador for the game. So he would invite me. He would invite me to come out for beat baseball. I lived in the city, in New York City, and he did also. And I was like, no, thanks. I had some of those thoughts. I heard Wynter, as he mentioned. I didn't think it would be so competitive. I thought, and also it was. I thought it would be a little bit of a trip to get out to the fields. It's in Long Island, which is a suburb of New York. So for all those different reasons, I just didn't. I said no. I mean, I politely said no, but for lo and behold, around 2012, 2013, he told me that they were going to do the Bombers were going to do a demo in Central Park, which is easy for me to get to from where I live. And I just said, I'm going to go support my friend Braulio, see the game and support him. It's a nice event. It sounds like I went there with my girlfriend at the time and enjoyed it. And after the game, they let some people come up, put the blindfold on. I said, let me try this. And so I put the blindfold on and I went up to hit and hit the ball a couple of times. I said, wait a minute, this is awesome. And and that was it, man. I was hooked, like Wynter said, I was hooked. It felt great, and I started coming to practices, and I saw that this is, as Jim mentioned, very competitive. This high level stuff. It's adaptive baseball for the vision impaired, but this is high level stuff. I mean, when you see the best team played, you understand that. Guys like the Indians, the Philly Fire this year, and Thunder. You see those guys play. I mean, and then even other teams. I mean, it's incredible. You have to have athleticism. You have to have awareness. You have to know where you are in space, timing. It's awesome. So all those things got me hooked. And I've been there since. It's been 10, 11 years now.
Very cool. Love hearing the excitement still in your voice, like talking about it or whatever. It's very cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great sport. I really get amped up about it because I think it's just anyone who's listening or to the show, who listens to the show, if you're visually impaired and you want to try the sport, go for it because it really it taught me a life lesson. I mean, just try something first. Don't say no. even if if it seems like it's a little bit of a hardship, like I said, we can always make excuses or say, oh, like I did, like, oh, it's not gonna be competitive, or I have to go a long way to get there. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm afraid the ball's gonna hit me in the face. But you know what? Why don't you give it a shot? You give it a shot, and then if it doesn't work out, then that's it. You find out it's not for you, and you move on. But in my case, I said no for a long time, and when I finally said yes, and the first time I tried it, I was hooked. Give something a shot first. Give it a shot and see if it's for you or not.
This show doesn't have, and I'd never expected to have like a large audience, but one reason that I still like to make it available like on YouTube and in as many like podcast holders as possible, or hosts, is just for the opportunity that somebody like any one of us could randomly just find it and learn about the game, because otherwise I don't it's so unpredictable on how any blind person's going to find out about any of our blind sports, right? Especially people that lived a sighted life and became blind later. So that's one reason I like to just make it available is on as many platforms, that's the word I was looking for earlier, as possible, is just to give any one blind person a chance just to find some blind sport. I want to talk to all of you about the doubleheader you guys just played a couple weeks ago, and then let that pour into your teams and what to expect of everybody in 2024. But first, with you guys and the Bombers, I'll start with you, Jim. You guys lost a pillar of your organization in Ted Fest earlier this year, and I know I don't believe at all that I was the only one that was like concerned about your program. You guys weren't part of the World Series in 2023, and you lose when you're founding members, and it's easy to get concerned about a team maybe slipping away, but it sounds like you guys are ready to honor his memory and keep this thing going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons they've kind of pulling me back in, and I'm more willing because I do want to, keep the organization alive and keep this opportunity available to blind athletes. So Alex Barrera is doing a great job, kind of, moving it forward and getting us involved in events. James Shortino's been here forever. He lives in North Carolina and still as committed as anybody.
That's your pitcher, right?
Yeah, and he's still committed as anyone can be to the game, and he's throws all his energy into keeping the Bombers afloat. So we have some good people. I hope to be there for them in regards to anything I can offer. Not just being a body when they need a player, but a little bit of coaching, and then also some of the behind the scenes, fundraising and all that stuff that people might not think of, but it's not easy to keep a team going, keeping it solvent, keeping it able to compete and do the travel, buy the equipment, etc. So a lot goes into it. We didn't take Ted for granted. We knew he was doing a lot, but he definitely was the money man, the organizational man, kind of the he did all that stuff behind the scenes. So we kind of have to pick up the pieces and come together. And I think that's what's happening. It's kind of a rebuilding or a reshaping, a retooling, call it what you will. But I think the organization will continue, and hopefully the team will be competing in 24 or 25 at a World Series. So that's the ultimate goal, and hopefully that comes to pass.
Edgar, you have any thoughts on your fallen teammate?
Sure, of course. Ted Fast. I remember when I heard Ted Fast. I actually heard him before I joined the Bombers. I heard him on a radio show. It was here in New York on a local station. Well, WFAN is very well known. It's probably the first all sports sports station. And he came on an
Where
interview
Mad Dog got
with,
started, right?
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mad Dog was there. Mike Frances, all those guys. That's right. That's right. And the guy who did the ball, I forget his first name, Randall. I don't know, Jim, if you recall the guy's name. I know his name. I believe his last name is Randall. But anyway, he did a show, and it was a baseball show. And I heard Ted come on, and
Ed Randall, right? Yeah.
Ed Randall, there you go. Yeah, I didn't get that first. Yeah, Ed Randall, that's right. So he did a baseball show Sunday. I think it was Sunday mornings, weekends. So I would listen to it, and I hear Ted come on and talk about beat baseball. He's very eloquent. He talked about the game and how it works and things that go on with the game. I remember I was very impressed with. He mentioned how people come to this game and enjoy the game, but it's not just the game. Also, it's where you can thrive as a person. You can develop your personality. He mentioned how young people have come to him that play the game and said that this really helped them in life, in school, in careers, and I agree, and I was very impressed by that. And then shortly after I tried and I became a member of the team, I saw that and I endorsed that. I really believe that it's a good vehicle. Of course, if you're athletically inclined and you love baseball, it's great, but it's also a great chance to really interact with people, travel, network. It's not just baseball. Of course, it's that's the center of it all, but it really branches out and can really, really help you develop as a person. So Ted was great.
I agree with all of that.
He ran the organization. He always, made sure that we had everything we needed. He wasn't playing by the time I got there. I believe he had retired a couple years before I got there, but always was. He cared about the team. We held meetings. We talked about doing things, fundraisers, and getting equipment and getting everything organized. Making sure we had events also with a sighted team, just to fulfill the mission, which is to just bring awareness to the visually impaired. That's part of the mission of the Long Island Bombers, to bring this awareness, to let people know that, hey, vision people can do a lot of things in this world, and beat ball is one of them, and through beat baseball we can thrive. So that's part of Ted's legacy.
If you don't mind me piggybacking on that for a second, Neil.
No.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in regards to like our mission, because I was there from the beginning, it was definitely to educate the public on our abilities. But Edgar also touched on this idea of bringing blind people in who, might be newly blind. I think I had it easy being blind early in life, but that fear and that, am I going to be able to do anything? The team is so important for that. And that's why every team that's out there that exists, you're providing that opportunity for a safe space for visually impaired people, but also for those who are newly, part of the blind world, if you will. It just gives them some hope. You can help them overcome their fear. It's networking, and there's so much networking that's gone on with the Bombers where, we had a commissioner in the city who helped one of our players get a job. He lost his vision later in life. And, you see teachers, you see business owners, you see lawyers on our team, and it shows that, you can be a productive member of society. You can achieve. So like Edgar says, it's more than the game. Although the game does provide an awesome opportunity, I think it also provides that networking, that support, and that camaraderie that you might not otherwise have.
I think you both have stated all of that really well. It's all stuff that I completely agree with, especially since I've lived it. Like I love everything that the game of beat baseball gave to me on the field, but I give it just as much credit for what it's given me off the field with mentors and friendships and the networking, and it just evolves into other things. I was not like a big part. I like Wynter and I talked about earlier in the show. I wasn't part of the blind world really until I found beat baseball, and that was it's like 7 years after I lost my eyesight. So I agree with everything that you guys were putting out there. I think you guys honored your teammate well. So I knew Ted a little bit, and I know that he represented all that stuff. So rest in peace, Ted Fast. Let's talk I guess about the games played. I want to get Boston back in the mix a little bit. I'll start with you guys. Not only did you guys play the doubleheader with Long Island here recently, but you also participated in the Beast of the East this year. How is the product on the field coming along with the Boston Straw? I'll start with you, Darren.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our team. Really happy with the success we had. We had not won a match until we beat you guys. The first game of that doubleheader in Southern Connecticut University, 4-2. And so that was a great sort of cap on the season. And Neil, I really have the perspective of a coach. I play, but I'm really thinking.
No, I understand.
As a coach in our program, and I'm so proud that all of our players had contributions to that win and to our play in the doubleheader. Whether it be a put out, whether it would be contact, putting the pressure on the defense by making contact, scoring a run, keeping players in the game, keeping the whole team in the game. Definitely made me proud. So I think we made a lot of progress in terms of learning skills. I mean, the future, I think sky's the limit. I had a lot of fun. I didn't expect to be playing as much as I did. I had to get a big bottle of ibuprofen. I just clue you in. I'm older than you are. But it was.
I'm
great.
sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, you know what I mean, right? So,
yeah.
good stuff though, and we're looking forward to next year. Beast of the East. We're looking forward to possibly going to the World Series in St. Louis, and we've got obviously some of those exhibition fundraisers. We'll be doing again.
Wynter, let me get your perspective, both as a new player, and could you give us and the audience like an idea, like how much of the rosters like yourself is kind of new in learning the game, and how much is experience?
Well, I think besides Joe and Darren, everybody else is pretty much new.
Okay.
I think they started last year. I'm not sure Darren would be able to tell you. I'm not sure how much playing they actually got last year, but they did start practicing, I think, last year. I didn't start until this year, but yeah, everybody else is new, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
how was? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we had a couple of players. I think one thing that's really unique that I want to say to the podcast audience is, we have minors and adults in our program, and we run practices, where we're mixing, minors and adults in our drills. We break out into practice groups, and we try to give everybody opportunities to participate. So we did have actually at least half the team, come over from last year, and to varying degrees like participate this year. And we also had new players like Wynter.
So going back to you, Wynter, how did your first year go on a personal level?
I think it went well. I I tend to get frustrated if I'm not good at something right away. And I also went into it, I don't know why, not having played ever. I went into it with this expectation that I was gonna wow everybody. And I mean, I might have done that, but not for the reasons I would have hoped. Um, but no, I think it went really well, and I think this last doubleheader was really the point at which I finally honed in on really things that I really need to work on, because for a good majority of the time before that, would just have I'd get out there and I would just have butterflies and I would have trouble focusing. Like the first, because we actually played a doubleheader against the Bombers at the beginning of the season as well.
Okay. Okay.
And I got up to bat, and this was all a blur. Like I don't actually remember it so well, but I got up to bat, I hit the ball, threw the bat, and ran out into the field. Like right out into the field.
Were you trying to
So
field your own ball?
I don't know. So I'm finally getting to the point where I can calm down a little bit, focus on what I actually need to be doing. I have actually not, well, I scored a run in an exhibition game, but I have not scored a run in a game against another beatball team, but I came really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, yet, exactly. I came really close in these double headers. I was able to put the ball in play almost every at bat and get so close to the base before they got it. I really need to work on my base running, because the closer I get to the base, the more I'm kind of like, oh, it's not necessarily a natural thing to run all out into something. So I'm working on that.
My least favorite part of our game is making contact with the base, to be honest with you. Just like that, those last like 20 feet, determining what angle you're going to hit it at, or how, I mean, it's always been my least favorite thing, is making contact with the base. I feel also like it's the most dangerous part of our game, because you never know how you're going to get tangled up with it. Like some of my worst injuries have come from hitting the base or whatever. So.
Well, that's good to know. Now I'm even more.
Well, that wasn't my goal. I apologize, but
thanks a lot. Yeah, but I think I one of the things I love about it too, and Darren said this at the very first practice that we had this year. So the very first practice that I was at, he said, you get out of this what you put into it. And so I love the idea of just you're playing with your team, and you are working as a team, and at the same time you have just your own personal growth that you're working on, and trying to see, what is my potential really? How far can I take this? And that is something that I really love, because I joke that getting into this now is my midlife crisis. But I never considered myself to be very athletic. And so I think that there's this amazing point that I'm at in my life where, and everyone has those moments where you can look at yourself and say, is who I always thought that I was like actually who I am, or can I, if I want something else, can I change this? And it's an amazing feeling.
Good. As long as we're still drawing breath, we have the ability to reach out and try something else. That's the way
Hmm.
I feel. So good for you for jumping in. Long Island, let's kind of get an update on the same thing. You guys, even though you've been around a long time, you're not a new team. You also did not participate in the World Series this year, but you did participate in the Beast of the East. You've had some exhibitions with the Strong, and maybe I don't even remember somebody else. I remember you guys did an exhibition at Central Park earlier in the year, but I can't remember who you played in that. But what's up with Long Island? Where are you guys at now? How did your year go as far as like getting you ready for next year?
So Edgar, you'll probably
Uh,
be able to talk to this more than I can because I just got back in.
Yeah.
But I'll just say one thing about the doubleheader. Seeing the new team like the Boston Strong growing and celebrating. Listen, I'm not gonna lie and say I'm happy they won the first game, but I was, and I think our team celebrated with them because this sport, there's the camaraderie of the team, but I think there's also that is cross team, right? Like we're all in this together, and we all see it as a wonderful opportunity. So to see them do well and get excited and have a victory, it was awesome. It reminded me of my early days in beat ball when I was just getting into the sport. So I was just happy to see that, and like Darren said, for them to get a victory, it does. It puts that cherry on the top, right? It gives them something to build off of for next year. So it was a great feeling that game, because I think both teams just support each other and understand that Boston's brand new. We're here for them. We want to work with them to grow, and we're redeveloping ourselves and redefining ourselves. So it's just it's nice to have that that partnership, if you will. And I
Yeah,
think
no, I
that
could dig that.
seems to be forming. I mean, Darren and Edgar can talk more about that, but that's what I see from even though I'm just coming into it in the last week or two.
No, I appreciate that. You're not just in it for you and your team. You're able to celebrate the whole sport, not just you're part of it. And so I could dig that. Edgar, you
Can I
got some
just?
thought? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
yeah,
I just.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on one sec, Edgar. Go ahead, Winter.
I just wanted to kind of speak to that and say that everybody has. I've been amazed at how supportive everybody's been. I mean, teams that wipe the floor with us would during the handshakes at the end be like, "This was the way we were at the beginning. Like keep it up. You guys are doing great." And we've just gotten. I just am so appreciative of all the support from everybody.
Very nice. Go ahead, Edgar.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree with what Jim said. It was a great event. Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven, Connecticut. The faculty there was great. They were great. The volunteers, Boston Strong. We played them a few times. We've had a good time, and as Wynter was saying, we try to support what they're doing. They're a great group. They got a lot of young players. They have female players, male players. It's a great group. They're a fun group, and we cheer them on. I mean, we cheer them on. We want to play, we want to win, but we cheer them on. So it was a great doubleheader. We had walk up. We had a PA guy. We had walk up music. It was really a fun event, and yeah, it was awesome. Everybody had their walk up song, and it was a lot of fun. And I agree with what Jim said in that the doubleheader, we each won one game, and I think that was great. I think that was good for everyone. You play the game, as Herman Edwards, football coach, once said, you play the game to win, and you do. But this event was really fun, and I think it worked out in the best possible way for both teams. So I was really I was pleased. As far as our team goes, we're as Jim mentioned, we're kind of retooling. I use that word. You see Boston, they're a new team. They're an upstart startup team, and they have a lot of young kids on their team, and that's awesome. And we're trying to do the same as far as recruit young players. We've had our issues. You know, we have players. We have some age on our team. We've also had injuries that a lot of teams been dealing with. Jim mentioned about the other challenges he's dealt with, and there's a few. I myself have had some issues in the last couple of years. So, but we're all working hard. We're all trying to get better. We're trying to improve our physical ability so that we can be better players. Getting healthy. You know, we got guys that has issues, so we're getting healthy. We're hoping to all be in a good place for 2024. We're recruiting. We're trying to get new players, and I don't know if we're going to make it to the series this coming season. I would like to as a team, but it looks, if not, then we're definitely for 25. We're going to work towards that. You know, we have our people, James Florentino, that was mentioned. He's living in North Carolina, and he's sort of I don't know if the title's been made official, but he's, I guess, our interim president right now. He's working hard with Alex Barrera, the captain of our team. We're all working hard. We're all having, you know, we had a conference call just the other night. We're all talking about what we can do and how we can get this team to a place where we feel we're competitive and that we can compete at a high level. So we're all working towards that.
I mean, you know, I understand that you guys, while you're retooling, can't like guarantee that you're going to be at the 2024 World Series, but I love that you have both 2024 and 2025 plans. Like, you guys obviously you aren't going anywhere. We don't know how soon we're going to see you at the World Series again, but you're not going anywhere. I think that.
No, absolutely. We're working towards that goal, and we will be there. Again, I can't tell you with certainty, but definitely, I would imagine if not this year, then definitely 25. The Bombers will be there.
That's good to know.
This is Darren. I just want to jump in really quickly and say, back in June, as soon as the bus stopped and we stepped off the bus at the Bombers field in Rockville Center there in Long Island, the first thing I did was come over and talk to the players and reconnect with Braulio, and Edgar was there, and Alvin and others. And one thing that I remember from my earlier days with the Renegades was that this was the right thing to do and be baseball. It's MBBA culture, or it should be. And I wanted to put my hand out, and I really appreciate you guys, Jim and Edgar and the Bombers, and I know we all do from the Boston Strong. So I wanted to say that I think it's very important to support each other, help each other grow, and really, like Edgar said, we play the game to win, but we can also show love to each other, support.
No, it's talked about a lot on the show, and I love it every time it comes up. We're a small community. It kind of makes us like a little family together, so. I like it better when the siblings are kind of working things out and helping each other and celebrating each other rather than fighting. It's always a better scene. Let's stay with you, Darren. And it sounds like the Boston Strong are kind of in the same boat as Long Island. Like you kind of loosely plan to get to the 2024 World Series, but I guess because you're still in the beginning processes, maybe not sure, or do you guys know for sure you're going to be there already?
Well, I think there's kind of a tentative plan to maybe go, but some things have to fall into place. Obviously,
yeah.
Every season is a new season.
Yeah.
You have turnover. We'll probably have volunteer turnover.
Yeah.
We want to keep our pitchers. We have two really good pitchers. One is an ex-high school coach. The other runs the Perkins School for the Blind physical education program and is an ex-softball player. So the game kind of starts with the pitchers, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. But we definitely plan to be there for the Beast of the East and other exhibitions, and just hopefully we can see that through. I think that would be super cool to do that. And one thing that Joe and I were talking about was, and this is really new to me, having taken 10 years plus off, is all the opportunities for women who play the game. I believe that there's an all-star game during the World Series, right, for women.
I mean, yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
It's called an exhibition over an all-star game or whatever. You know what I mean? Like an all-star game, I guess generally like players are being picked for that. Whereas any woman who wants to play in the Women of Our League game, is eligible to play in it. Anybody that wants to play in it. So,
I'm looking forward to that. If we do go, and again, like very, very happy to be back in the sport.
Very good, very good. Well, that's all good stuff from everybody. I personally don't have anything else to throw at you guys except for the fact that I thank you all for coming together and sharing a bit about each of your products with the audience.
Well, thank you for having us. It's just a pleasure, watching this team grow, and having you and others keep the NBBA strong and the sport strong. And as we age and we know what the appreciation we have for the game, we just want to see more people get involved. So that's the biggest thing right now, is to recruit those college kids, those kids in their 20s, and get them off their damn devices and on the field play ball. I know I sound like I'm a teacher. I'm like an old curmudgeon, but get them off their darn devices and get them playing ball, man. That's something you just love to see and want to. So
yeah, definitely.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for inviting us. It's been a blast. You're doing a great thing by doing this podcast. I think this is great because you bring exposure to the game. You give a chance for people to come on and speak and express themselves, and it's awesome because people can hear this, and it might inspire someone. And that's awesome because, as Jim said, we're trying to recruit. We just had an event recently with the New York City public school kids that are visually impaired, young kids in Brooklyn, and it was great. It was going to be outdoors, but it was raining, but luckily we had an indoor facility, and we did some things indoors, and there was a lot of enthusiasm, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to grow the game. Again, time passes, players age, sometimes players have to leave the game, but we want to keep the game going, so we're working on doing that, getting these players in, more people involved.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, Darren or Wynter? Go ahead, Darren. I hear you.
I just want to
in.
say, Neil, hey, thanks. A pleasure formally meeting you, I guess, for the first time.
Yeah, right back at you. Even though we both played in the league for I want to say 7 years at the same time. I only remember playing the Renegades one time during that period, but not that I remember every single game I played during that time, but I don't remember playing against the Renegades too often, even though I was in the league against them for years.
Right. Yeah. Well, it just depends, right, on how
the
series.
So random. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But
definitely good to meet you, though.
Yeah, you too, and thank you so much for having us on and giving us this opportunity to connect. Both from Boston Strong and the Long Island Bombers. It's been terrific.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so nice to now almost meet you in person, and maybe hopefully someday I will. But I really appreciate what you're doing, and I know I reached out to you before, and I again just want to say that I really appreciate your support of female players, women players, because We need the love, we need the support, and you always give it, so that means a lot.
I appreciate that. It's hard for me to take too much credit with that because honestly, it's something that I've been around the game since 1986, and it's been a co-ed sport the whole time, and I haven't always been that supportive. So I don't believe I was ever negative. Like, you know what I mean? I was never not. I was never against females playing in our game, but I didn't put up any kind of fight or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't as supportive as I should have been, I guess, in the end,
Well,
especially because I was a board member and everything. So,
I mean, you recognize that, and now it's water under the bridge because I've heard you, and now you do fight for it. I've heard it. Now
no, I not care
you're
about
tired of the nonsense, and
it.
so
Thank you.
so.
I do appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Thank you for you've been very supportive of the show. And I mean, I appreciate anybody that checks it out and supports it, but you're one that has stood out. You make a lot of cool comments about the show, and I just appreciate it. Thank you for it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll keep listening. As long as you keep doing it, I'll keep listening to it.
All right. Well, speaking of that, we will keep doing it. We're going to get 2 more episodes in before taking Thanksgiving weekend off, so we'll have more stuff coming up. Everybody, until then, be well, and we will see you next time. Take care.